Welcome to a very special episode this week in which we say goodbye to a friend, Brian.
Who has sadly passed.
It's weird that we had him in the room for the podcast.
He's passed.
The body was still fresh, but...
the feeling goes on.
Yeah.
He's passed from this town. He's leaving.
He's moving away.
So we have him on as a special guest, one and only time. The only time you can actually get on the show is if you're about to leave.
Or if you're Lincoln.
But he's like a perma guest. He'll never, ever be a host.
He plays a big role in this podcast, and I hope that doesn't bolster his confidence, because he can't ever be a host.
He's getting too big for his britches already, as you'll hear in this. But, we want to make sure that everybody knows that Lincoln will never be an actual host. He'll never even be a guest host. He will forever just be a guest.
A perma guest.
Yeah.
That's why it's a perma guest.
It's a perma guest. He'll forever be that. And he's already taken that on. He knows the responsibilities that comes with that.
He's not a mostly guest. He's not a sometimes host. He's a perma guest.
He's a perma guest. But he's on, and we talk about our life in LA. It's actually kind of interesting for those of you who haven't either lived in LA or even been to LA. Get a little taste of what it's like.
Yeah.
So we have, everybody remembers Brian, who edited our first podcast. He's here. He's actually leaving, which is why he's here.
Say hi, Brian.
Hi.
Maybe say goodbye.
Say goodbye, Brian.
We'll do it again later.
So Brian's going back to Montana after living in Los Angeles for a year. And I was actually thinking maybe we should talk about our memories in LA, and then we'll have Brian on to talk about his final thoughts on it. But since me, Patrick, and Lincoln have been here longer, I was thinking of completely shutting Brian out of it, and then we share our memories.
More like memories,
of when
right,
we
Lincoln?
started, and then Brian can wrap it up by kind of telling you why he's leaving LA. There'll probably be tears and stuff, but
you're right, Patrick.
so we've been here for 5 years, about 5 or 6 years in LA from Montana. And I wasn't the first one here, but Patrick was, and then Lincoln and I came about the same time. Is that right?
Lincoln came, and then you came for a visit.
Right. And you guys actually lived together, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't there for that, so I only heard the
total
stories.
of 3 different apartments and households and whatever. But when I moved down here, I moved 5 times within, I think, the first 6 months, which was brutal.
Yeah, you were all over the place.
Lincoln
you started living on the CSU campus?
USC, yeah. I was nearby that campus, but before that I was at my cousin's. Then I moved there. Then you came down right near the tail end of that, and it was like a student housing, which for some reason I was allowed to live in. I think it's because I had money to pay for it. And you by
the way, that's generally the reason why you can stay somewhere is you have money to pay for it.
Typically, if you're not a student, you shouldn't be there. Right. But it was cheap, super cheap. And that's why I wanted to live there. And they did not ask me any other questions other than, when will you be moving in?
The only memory I have of that place, so I just moved out here. Patrick said you could crash with me. He's living at this USC housing. And he had this disgusting roommate.
Oh, man.
Who,
they were brutal.
Yeah, he just had these really disgusting roommates. Well, one day I went into the bathroom to take a leak, and I noticed the toilet paper was gone. This is my only memory of this place. And I thought, well, I'm glad I'm only taking a leak, because I didn't know where there was toilet paper or what to do about it or whatever. And then I noticed his friend or his roommate go to the bathroom, and he's in there for a while, obviously going number 2. And I'm just curious, what's he doing? Like, because I know there's no toilet paper in there. And I come back, or like later on, I go into the bathroom, and there are pieces of cardboard roll in the toilet that like wouldn't flush down. And so this guy took an empty cardboard roll and used it as toilet paper. Pretty genius, actually.
Do you think he scraped? Like, did he scrape it off?
Like
or
a
is
squeegee.
he somehow tricking himself into thinking that wiping with that's doing anything but getting on his hand?
I think he's maybe just trying to get like what would be the visible chunks. Like it's like, oh, I don't have soap to wash my hands, but if I can see dirt, I'll get that. Like he's just like wiping off the clumps.
I would just take a shower. I would just be like, you know what?
He should have.
I'm just gonna wash. I'm gonna spread my cheeks and let the stream just.
I don't remember
me.
which one it was, but if I could guess, it was this guy. And anybody who knows me thinks it's hilarious that I was the one cleaning up after somebody. But he would walk out, like an example of something that he would do. He would walk out and open up his laptop, like on the kitchen area or whatever, and start playing something. Go and sit, or no, go start the burner on the oven. Get something get that burning and kind of get like a box out like he's going to start cooking something, but then sort of wander over to the GameCube and the TV, turn that on, get that running. So now the GameCube and the music's playing. He's got his audio running on the computer, but now he's distracted by reading something and will just get up while reading it and walk out of the room. And the oven's on, the GameCube's on, the TV's on, his laptop, everything's just blaring. And I'd have to walk up there and close each of them.
What the hell?
So one of them was a film guy, and he was sort of like a bro, and then the other guy was a smaller dude who was a bodybuilder and a classic Latin guitar player.
Cool combo.
Yeah, it was an interesting combo. But the other guy was kind of a bro. One day he walks up to me near the end of our time together, and he was like, "Hey man, I did it." I was like, "Oh, what?" He's like, I'm moving out of here. And I was like a weird thing to say that, oh, I did it. I'm moving out. Like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, I did it. I'm finally getting out of the ghetto. What are you talking about?
This isn't the ghetto.
I'm a white guy from Montana who grew up on a street called Country Club Circle. And I know I'm not in the ghetto right now, even though I've moved to LA. What are you talking about? I finally got out of the ghetto, man. But somebody had bailed and we didn't tell the landlord that Lincoln was just going to crash in the extra room that we had there for a week. How long were you even there?
I don't know, about a week. But then we ended up getting out of the ghetto. House sat for a while.
It was the ghetto because the guy's wiping with pieces of cardboard. That's
right,
why
it's rough. It's hard. It's hard out there in the ghetto.
Yeah.
But so we house sat for a while. I don't know. I don't.
Rags to riches. House. We went from the ghetto all the way up to fancy house at the base of the hills.
That's North Hollywood?
Yeah. No, we were like just in Hollywood, I guess.
I got a house sitting job in the former home of Peter Lorre. I don't know if anybody listening to this podcast knows who that is. This old German actor. It's a very nice home, and they give the job to me, and I say, oh yes, I'll take care of your home. And then of course Patrick, I owe him a solid, so I say, hey, come live with me, bro.
I was sleeping in like a kid's.
Yeah, and then Austin comes to visit. And I'm like, hey, come live with me, man. And so then
That's
Austin
right.
and his girlfriend live there for a while. So pretty much like I'm house sitting for this home, and we have this full house. Have we ever talked about money shots in the podcast?
And wait, by the way, just to really frame all this, Lincoln was rocking a mustache during this period of time.
Oh, this creepy
It
crawler.
was something else.
crawler.
Yeah, it was like a caterpillar mustache for some reason.
And I have to ask, why did you have this mustache at the time? What was your reasoning?
I don't even remember.
If I think my memory serves me well in this case, I think you were trying to make a signature look for yourself.
Yeah, I might have been trying to stand out. Like,
You're trying to stand out.
I'm
And-
the guy with the mustache.
Yes, you were.
So you ended up being the guy with the mustache.
So I got a job on
your
a
wish.
project. I got a job on some Hallmark Hall of Fame movie where the producer's name is Lincoln, and I was so low on the totem pole, they were like, "Yeah, we're not calling you Lincoln. Rico. We'll call you Rico." So I was fucking Rico for like 3 months. And then I finally get off that project, get onto another one, and lo and behold, the cinematographer's name is Lincoln. And I was like, call me Rico.
With the mustache.
So I was Rico for months. But anyway, so Rico and Patrick are living at this this very nice home. Neither of us have nice jobs. We're both making low wage, but we're living
a pile of our belongings is in the entry living room.
Yeah, we just like moved our all the shit we have in this world.
Which,
into
by
their
the way,
living room.
really quickly, like we were so desperate that we were moving out of the ghetto into a storage unit because the place wasn't available yet. So we moved all of our stuff to a storage unit. This is after full days of work. We'd move all of our stuff to a storage unit, leave it there, and then move that all into this house after we move out of this place later. Same exact process. But what we found out is that if you sign up for LA public storage, they will give it to you for your first month for 1 penny. So not only did we move into a storage unit and then out into a new place, while it was in that storage unit, I then signed up for another month for 1 penny, and we went there and moved from one storage unit to the other storage unit
For 2 pennies.
Yep, for 2 months.
There were some hidden fees in there. After the insurance and after like the storage fee, like some fees that you wouldn't think would matter, came out to about $34 a month. But that's better than the regular fee of like, whatever.
So when I came to visit, it was me and my girlfriend. We were going to come for a week, and you guys had in the entrance all your belongings and stuff. Just looked like a bomb exploded. And then it was like a very nice Spanish style type house, like an adobe, and it had a little backyard like most houses in Hollywood, but it did manage to have a pool.
Nice big pool.
Nice big pool. And I guess you guys had some adventures before we even came. We saw pictures later, but
money shots. So I had this idea of like after living, in this crappy little apartment, it felt like we were high rollers living in this big fancy home. Well, the deal was when they had me house sit, they said, you can take care of our house in exchange for having a place to stay. So I wasn't expecting any sort of compensation, but before they left town, they gave me $200. And that was a lot of money for me at that point. And they gave it to me in cash, like in 20s. And so I felt like the shit with my $200 in 20s. So I decided, wouldn't it be funny if we took some sweet, like, gangster pictures of me flashing around this wad? And so Patrick's on board.
Oh, yeah. You got the mustache.
Like, I got the mustache.
Master
so I'm like,
bedroom.
Okay, well, let's take pictures of me next to the big screen. So we have some pictures of me flashing some 20s next to the big screen. And then it was like, well, what else do the gangsters do? And it's like, well, aren't they always in bed with a bunch of chicks? And it's like, yeah, let's do that. But we didn't have any chicks, so I just took my shirt off and I was
grabbed a beer.
I grabbed a beer. So I was just in the master bed with a beer, holding $200 in 20s, and we laughed.
Kind of spread out.
Took some pictures of that. Yeah, I tried different things. And then the fun time was over, and I decided that I needed to get a Bluetooth because that was right when they were saying hands-free talking in cars. You need a Bluetooth. So I go to Best Buy, and the way I am, I buy the
classic Lincoln fashion,
the nicest one available.
Yeah. Doesn't have $1 to his name, but will buy the nicest Bluetooth available on the market.
$200 to my name, and I buy a $180 Bluetooth, or like $160 Bluetooth, and then buy the insurance for it, and then pay the tax for it. And I walk out of there with like $6.
And the whole ride home, he's justifying it.
Yeah, I'm justifying it the whole ride home.
I realize that you gotta have, it's an investment. I gotta have the nicest.
It's a jawbone, right? It's like it's not just a regular.
I swear it had
Bluetooth.
leather on it.
It is a jawbone, which is probably the most expensive and most sought after.
It was a nice, there's a moment in Goodfellas where he bursts into the room with a fake Christmas tree and he goes, "I bought the most expensive one." And it's like really tacky, and I think that's me a lot of times. I'll just go after the nicest thing, assuming it will make me feel the most complete. So I have my Bluetooth, and I feel really good about that. And then we're bored, and we decide, well, let's take some more money shots. And so then we go into the pool, and we take this whole series of money shots in the pool. The only difference is,
now it's ones.
Now there's $6 involved. We're taking all these badass high roller money shots with $6 $1 bills.
It starts with us like holding the cash and acting like we got sunglasses on. We're in the pool. We got the cash and we're flashing it and stuff. It devolves into us just smearing dollar bills across us and bursting out of the water with it. Like this is what wealthy people do in their pools with their ones.
So I have the Bluetooth on, my sunglasses and the Bluetooth, taking some sweet money shots. Like, look at me with my awesome Bluetooth.
In like a hot tub.
And then Patrick says, "Oh yeah, here, let me use the Bluetooth." So he puts it on. He's taking all these pictures, and then at some point he's like, "Oh, underwater photographs." We start taking pictures of him underwater, and he comes up and realizes he's wearing the Bluetooth.
Not even 2 hours old.
Not even 2 hours old, and
you blew all that money on
I was underwater. I remember I was underwater. We're doing the thing, and then we come up. I come up, and then I think I hear you make some sort of noise lending itself that you realize what I'm wearing, and at the exact same time it dawns on me. And I put
Probably
my head
something
up
like this.
No. water just draining off of it.
Draining
as I
out of
raise
the
that
little
water.
holes.
It's
Yeah.
like all your dreams have just gone underwater
Yeah.
and shorted out.
So we finally left that place and got a little apartment in North Hollywood.
Yeah, I only hear stories about it, but I guess you guys were there for just like a summer, right?
3 months.
3 months.
3 months,
Yeah.
so it was like a season.
It was a crazy place. Places like this don't exist anymore here. And the reason it was really cheap and it was month to month, which is what we were looking for. Because
month to month right away, which is
Yeah.
very rare.
You remember the name of the landlord?
Powers.
Powers.
His name is Powers, but hold on. The place is huge. It was a huge place, and it was month to month because they had been bought by a school and were going to be bulldozed, but no time soon. Like it was going to be a year minimum. They hadn't made plans, but it was like we can't charge long big leases, so it was cheap. And the place was, our room wasn't huge, but it was, first story was a parking garage, and then it was that classic surrounded box shape 3 stories up of all these little, so tons of people live there. It was like a dorm like amount of people.
Yeah.
That's like the reverse plot to like an 80s dance drama. Where it's like instead of a school that's there and then they're gonna build apartment complexes, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. The school, an evil school board is gonna bulldoze where
movie
all these like innocent people are living their lives.
The movie
really
could
funny.
still be made because we got the sympathetic landlord named Powers,
Yeah.
who when I first met, he comes out and his eyes are not more than a toenail open. And he's like, sorry about my eyes, man. He's like this old bald guy with kind of like long hair around the sides. Sorry about my eyes, man. I just had an operation done or whatever. He's like, you just leave the checks here and stuff. I painted this place. It's all painted like an aquarium. The entire thing is like seaweed and fishes all over the place. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the entire and then the pool, which was a separate area, also aquarium painted around all
Oh,
corners.
wow.
Of
I
that.
think in high school that was a twerp theme one year, and that's what
yeah.
it reminded me of. Was like what they painted the prom room during
Yeah.
twerp.
It's like sometimes YMCA will have like a kids area, a
Yeah.
shallow area that has like
that was
fishy-
just our life. Like that was what we lived in.
Anyways, 3 months, his eyes never opened more than a sliver. That guy was the biggest pothead I've ever come across.
Sorry, man, I'm so
I had an
high.
operation.
My favorite thing to come out of that apartment was I was with EJ at the time, and we were in a long distance relationship, but Patrick was just kind of perma single at that point, and I was constantly like, I don't know, looking out for opportunities because I thought you were a good guy and girls should like you, but you're really shy. And so we meet this, I don't remember her name,
I don't either.
but there was a girl that lived in our
remember what
apartment
we call her.
that was really cute.
Yeah, she's like a cute little button, like blonde, short, cute girl.
Yeah, blonde, short, cute girl. And we had these little, hey, how's it going? Like when she's walking by, like
Yeah.
these very short interactions. And
dog.
she was always really friendly. She had a dog. And I had it in my head, like this girl and Patrick could totally click. And so I'd find opportunities to talk with her and I wanted her to just kind of get involved in our world.
Which was awesome at the time.
She doesn't want to do that.
our world
Our
was
kick-ass two guys living in a
really
one-bedroom
awesome.
world.
Get in on this.
So anyways, she was just so appealing. Like she was a girl from a distance who was just like
She was
just-
very nice, and she would be very friendly, and she would sometimes like come and approach our apartment and just talk to us, whatever. At one point, I think I even asked, like, we were gonna go hiking or whatever before how this all unravels.
And you
but-
invited her, right?
yeah, or she invited me or something. I don't know. We like had made plans, but we were visiting, and it had become friendly. And then one day she knocks on our door and goes, "Hey guys, is any chance that you guys could take my dog off my hands? I got to get out of here, or I got to move." Like she was being cagey about it. Like it's hard to describe.
Weird.
She wasn't just like, "Oh, my lease is up and I will be moving out." She's like, "I'm leaving like tomorrow." And I need to find the place for my dog.
Yeah.
She's bailing.
Yeah,
she was
totally
just totally bailing. And there was this really awkward recessive dude who lived like a couple doors down from us.
We had some long conversations with him about, I don't even remember what, but they were long.
He was just this weird dude. So anyways, this girl tries to pitch her dog off on us, and it was like, "Oh no, I'm sorry." And then the next day she's gone. And then we run into that dude and he's like, so I got a new dog.
Yeah. She just steamroll him.
And
Like he couldn't say no.
Oh, he couldn't say no to this cute girl. Well, anyways, the weirdest part was she literally just left everything behind.
Yeah.
She just
in her apartment.
packed up her most important possessions, got on a plane, walked out, just left everything behind. And so
we walked by the house and Powers is inside there being like, it's a mess, man. Like he seems so helpless, like that high old man standing in her apartment. Just like she left everything, man.
Yeah. And he said something to the effect of like, if you want to pillage, go ahead, or like
he just wanted to get stuff out of there.
Yeah,
like if we could help.
He was
So it was a
basically
mess.
saying, yeah, it was a fucking mess.
Yeah, we walk. So he tells us, and then we come in over to check it out once it kind of clears out. Like,
Yeah,
so we
you
can
get-
really
you-
like look at everything. And
Well,
see
you
what
could
we
get
wanna
some
take.
new stuff too.
And you walk in there, and you would think it belonged to some disgusting hermit.
This was like a young, short, cute blonde girl who, from any other interaction that we've had with her, seemed to have no hygiene issue. Like she just seemed like a normal, put together young lady. In that apartment, it wasn't like she had a rager and made a mess of it in one night. It had been a disaster for.
It was a live-in.
It was.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
There were plates of food all over the place. And like you say, at first I wanted to blame it on, she had a party the night before. But there were plates of food that were in different stages of decay.
Yeah.
Oh god.
There were booze bottles all over it. And I would no doubt she had maybe a party at some point while maybe people, like possible guests, would be willing to still go inside this place. One of the things that have always stuck with me is that her bed with the big white comforter just had muddy dog prints all over it.
Oh,
like
God.
you could just see clear, like her dog just got all muddy and just stomped and slept on that bed.
Oh, the thing that
never
stuck
cleaned
with
it.
me
It stunk.
was a cup that looked like a cup of soda, and there was this film on the top of it, like the soda had gone bad. and I don't know how long
Crusted
it
over.
takes for like a soda to go bad.
Yeah.
But it was the most disgusting thing, and the place smelled so rank. I've never had a very good sense of smell, so I never like talked with her in the hall and thought, "Wow, this girl stinks." Like somehow she
I never
left
noticed.
that inside.
Yeah.
But this place
God.
was so disgusting, and she had a dog that wasn't very potty trained,
Yeah. Oh, it was
but
bad.
she didn't really do
God.
anything about it. It was so
Didn't
bad.
stop us from pillaging a little bit though.
Yeah. Did you guys take anything?
Well, at first, sorry, go on.
No, we got a awesome little. We got a couple things. We took a couple things. One of them we regretted a little bit later.
Yeah, we got like the table, like an IKEA table, and we like
a coffee
washed it
table.
off really good. And I think I grabbed some hangers.
I grabbed a hammer.
Patrick grabbed a hammer. I was gonna grab a chair, but it just stank too bad.
Yeah.
Like it was just a stinky ass chair. So we just grabbed essentially things that can't hold smell.
Exactly.
Hangers, a hammer, a
Table.
table.
The coffee table was small. It held the smell for a little bit, but it was small and it was okay.
So we pillage all of this stuff. We bring it back to our place, and it's fine. And we move on, but we notice a smell in our apartment, and we can't put our fingers on why does our apartment suddenly smell like that chick's
We
apartment.
don't have that many possessions, especially of hers, but even of our own. Like, what could be smelling?
We left almost everything behind, but our place has kind of a nasty stank to it. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know who discovered it. Did you discover it?
We were rooting through all this stuff, and I think we pulled at some point. We pulled a hammer out to use during some sort of function. The hammer's metal with like rubber on it, and one
Like
of
a
us
rubber grip.
Yeah, and one of us smelled it, and it's this hammer.
The hammer was.
This
making your
hammer
entire
smells
apartment
horrible.
stink.
This hammer made of rubber and metal has retained the smell of this
If you
woman.
put your nose up to this hammer, it was like putting your nose right up to a butthole.
Yeah.
Like, it was so nasty.
So Lincoln and I don't remember her name, but we do remember what we call her now, which is Stink Hammer.
Stink hammer. She will forever more be stink hammer. Because we could get it out of the clothes hangers, we could get it out of the table, but that rubber grip, we could not get the stink out of that hammer.
I remember we were down socializing with some of the other tenants, and they're throwing some big party at the end of the week. And at one point, Lincoln had told this story. I always remember this for some reason. We had told this story to everybody, and Lincoln had left suddenly for whatever reason. And you can see down the pool area where the party was. And Lincoln comes up to that kind of balcony area and goes, "Stink hammer!" and throws the hammer down to everybody below. But yeah, I almost,
Oh my God,
I almost cut myself off a piece of that.
Oh God.
we would be remiss to not mention the other big character of that apartment complex.
Yeah, there's something that I had heard a few times. It's just the word Pinche. Do you guys remember?
Yeah. Oh man, fucking Pinche.
So this is in the same North Hollywood apartment. You guys had Stink Hammer, and you kept on to the Stink Hammer, and then you had one other guy, another tenant, right?
Ernie Brolin.
Ernie Brolin. Yeah, his name was Ernie. I don't remember his last name. We called him Ernie Brolin because you insisted that he looked like Brolin.
He looked like Josh Brolin,
right.
like a Mexican Josh Brolin.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought we were both on board with that.
But
Is Josh Brolin not Mexican?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
So the same party, which like maybe like seriously around 5 a.m, Lincoln yelled "Stink hammer" and threw the hammer at the party. During that same party is when we first met Ernie Brolin, and you met him first, and it's a great exchange. You should tell you, not Austin.
You're gonna have to jump in on this one. I don't remember.
Sorry. The gist of it is that you met him and you asked him, "Do you live here?" Really? Nothing? Okay, I'll tell the story.
Nothing.
So you're downstairs. I hadn't arrived to the party yet. I didn't even realize what's happening. All these people gather around and you go, you're meeting everybody and you're saying something that's very normal. I did the exact same thing later. You're asking every single person like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you. We had just moved in. Do you live here?" And yeah, I live in whatever. Yeah, I live in whatever. You asked Ernie Brolin, "Do you live here?" And he goes, "Next guy. The next guy who says, the next guy who asked me, 'Do I live here?' I'm gonna punch him in." He would never really finish sentences. "I'm gonna punch him in the next guy who," and he has a very thick Latin Mexican
Turns
accent.
out I hit a soft spot.
Yeah, just by asking him. And he goes, I fucking buy this place tomorrow. Fucking Pinche. I buy this place tomorrow. I got the hottest bitch in here. Fucking Pinche. And so Lincoln gets reamed for this, for asking him if he lives here, and in come me, and I do the exact same thing. I walk up and Lincoln goes, "This is Ernie." I go, "Oh, hey, do you live here?" With under the threat of being the next guy who should have been punched, but he spared me, I guess. But three things he would constantly say is, "I buy this place tomorrow." I buy this whole place. I buy this place tomorrow, because it'd be like, ask him if he lived here to him implied he couldn't afford to, which meant that you're assuming that he's poor, but he could buy this place tomorrow. Yeah. And secondly, he has the hottest bitch here. He always say that. "I got the hottest bitch here."
And he did have the hottest bitch
That was the weird part. He was a short, not overly obese, but heavy, right?
Kind of a fat Mexican.
Chubby Mexican dude.
Brolin, yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember what he did for a living, but he was it was during a party, like end of the week. Bunch of guys, they're all tired, and we were drinking.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying that he's got the hottest bitch here. And I don't think we met her that night. We met her
later,
in equally as weird circumstances.
And he was so misogynistic and so like he always referred to her as a bitch. And he always talked down to her, but he also called her the hottest bitch.
Right.
And she was exactly how he described. She was like incredibly attractive, but she was like a little mouse that was always just like cowering before him.
Russian, I believe. Right?
Yeah,
mail
maybe.
order bride?
I think she was, I don't know, she wasn't mail order. She was, the way he describes the story is that, I don't know what to take out of this. He was driving a tow truck at the time and came across her. She had been in a wreck. And she couldn't, her boyfriend was a dick, and she couldn't afford to get the car fixed, and he gave her a ride home, and they hooked up.
Wow.
This poor day laborer and this hot Russian girl hooked up, and they've been together ever since.
How weird.
Yeah.
So he would say fucking Pinche all the time.
All the time. And then we had to get lubricated that night after drinking for that party, and eventually, I think Lincoln asked him, "You keep saying fucking Pinche. What does Pinche mean?" He's like, it means like fucking. Like it means like fucking. It's like, so you're saying fucking? He's like, yeah, I'm saying fucking. But you could never really give him shit. Like you could say one thing, but if you pushed him, he'd just get kind of go fuck yourself. But then there was the night we went and got tacos. Do you remember that?
No.
Man, this is just gone from your memory. We go to his place, and I don't know, you really wanted to hang out with him like a lot. Like you were always like social, or he would come by and you would talk to him and he would give me shit for not like talking to him, and I was freaked out by the guy, and rightfully so. Later on we go down there and we're hanging out by his door, and he's like just talking to us about, I don't even remember what, but he's constantly like looking around. He's like, there's guys after me, and he's telling us
I remember that.
And he's like, come here, let me show you something. And we go inside and he lifts up his mattress, and I think he had more than one pistol underneath his mattress. He's like, if they come after me, I'm gonna he'll never finish that.
And it's when you knock on his door, he'd always like check who it was before he opened the door.
That's right. Like that's how it started. Like eventually he's like, who is it? We're like, it's Lincoln. And he opened the door and he goes, don't ever knock on my door without saying your name. I'm going to shoot you through the door. And we're like, he's like, I got a shotgun in my trunk of my car, and he was telling us all about it. And then eventually he was like, let's go get tacos. Like, I know a great taco stand. And we're like, okay. And Lincoln, extending the offer to his bitch, the hottest bitch, says, oh, would you like to come in? And he just goes, no, she'll stay here.
Yeah, he tells us he'll stay.
He just says, well, you'll stay here.
So once you guys moved out of there,
Lauren had moved down. We moved to Venice.
We had a friend who came down from Seattle, and that's about the time that I came down.
Yeah, and I left. I went back to Montana.
You went back to Montana, and I moved down. It's this ebb and flow of LA. LA's crazy like that. Like people are constantly visiting or moving, coming here or leaving.
No one's from here.
No one's from here. So it's just this crazy flux of just people coming and going.
Yeah. Nick Heidenreich used to say that Mark Twain once said that if you picked up the world and shook it, all the loose pieces would fall in LA. And I thought that was real profound. Mark Twain never said that. I don't know who ever said that. I know for a fact it's not Mark Twain.
I think it was something more along the lines of if somebody picked up the United States and shook it, all the not crazy people held on, and the crazy people all fell to California.
I do like how the quote is of somebody else's quote. Like this guy
said
always
what Mark
said
Twain
this
always
guy's
said.
quote. Yeah. But it's true. There's a shit ton of crazy people here, and we discovered that as soon as we all moved in some fashion to Venice, California, which is right by the beach. It is the craziest place I've ever been.
An interesting group of people because it's not necessarily cheap, so it's not just riffraff. It's like crazy,
it's half and half.
And crazy riffraff with money for whatever reason.
Yeah, so you have a meth lab next to a very nice home, like a very nice
$500,000 home.
Oh, way more than that.
Yeah.
Like in Venice, no house is under $1 million.
Right.
And it could be a little tiny bungalow, but these houses are insanely expensive. To give you a little history on Venice, it used to be where people would go to get drugs. Nobody would go there on purpose. If you went to Venice, it's like going to Compton now in people's minds. Like you go there for a reason, or you don't go at all.
Right.
And those people stuck around, and a lot of the rich people saw an opportunity to buy up land by the beach. And so you have these places that have been around for a while and are falling apart and are full of weird, creepy
and
pedophiles.
Cost a ton.
Well, those people get grandfathered in. So what you get is you have crazy people who are grandfathered in that are paying nothing.
Weird rent control areas.
Yep. And then you have new people who are paying a shit ton for places they actually probably don't go that much. And so we were smack dab in the middle on the corner of Venice and Lincoln. Very busy intersection.
We were on the wrong side of the two biggest arteries in Venice.
Yep.
Being on that side of those two streets added at least a half an hour to your commute.
Yeah,
It's
it's crazy.
insane.
It's just big intersection. So when I first came down, Patrick and Lauren were in a 1-bedroom.
This is when, just in case that was confusing, you came down to visit, you went back, and then you moved down at this point.
Yeah, so I came down with the idea that I was going to visit for 3 weeks. I had a plane ticket and everything. And I stayed on their couch, and at the end of that 3 weeks, I was like, oh, this place is cool. Actually, it was more of, I need more time because this place is nuts. I need to, find a job. And my intention was to come down here and get a job and just start working in the industry. So I crashed on the couch for 3 weeks. After the end of 2 weeks, I decided I'm just going to cancel my ticket. And so I stayed for 6 months.
Right.
And eventually I went back and I got my car and stuff. But in that 6 months, it was me and Patrick and our friend Lauren, who's in Seattle. And so it was 3 dudes
In a one-bedroom
apartment. And this place is small. And I hope I could put it into perspective to you guys. Think of just like your regular kitchen, just a regular kitchen that isn't like a huge thing attached to another thing. Like it's the size of like 3 kitchens.
Right.
That's it. The entire place.
Yeah.
So it's a actual kitchen, a living room kitchen, and then a bedroom kitchen, and then a bathroom.
For reference, our bedroom, take 3 beds that are no bigger than a twin or a single.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
And all 3 beds were touching all the way across the room.
And how would we know that?
Filled the entire room.
It's because we did that.
Yeah.
So when I
this is Lauren's fault initially, because when I moved down here with Lauren, I was like, okay, so if you don't want to sleep in the living room, that's how Lincoln and I did it. Lincoln was in the bedroom, I slept in the living room. I got my TV and my video game, so I was happy. We can do it that way. He's like, no, we gotta both be in the same room, because every single place that Lauren has ever lived was in a 1-bedroom apartment, and he slept with his roommate in the bedroom. And he has a point in that he says, you go into this room to sleep, and then when we are not in this room, you are in a living room that does not have bedding in it and stuff and other people's clothing and stuff like that.
That's a good idea. Kind of breaks apart when you add a third person in there, especially when you add a fourth. So it was Patrick and Lincoln. I was crouching on the couch, and then at night,
Patrick and Lauren, you were on the couch,
And then at night, I'd hear him like kind of jib-jabbing. Oh, that sounds kind of fun. Oh, they're laughing. Oh, that's
Austin's trying to fall asleep next to the refrigerator that makes really weird noises
really loud.
every few minutes.
It's like wee. It sounded like a robotic cicada. And then eventually, to be very honest,
imagine Austin just sleeping on his back, arms crossed, just not able to sleep, and just hearing the muffled.
Like they're having the time of their life. It's a slumber party every day.
You were feeling left out.
So I grabbed my mattress and I pulled in between their beds, and we had the best time ever.
First you're like in the door frame and hauling all of your bedding and everything, and Lauren and I are looking at you, and you're like, I got lonely.
It was lonely. It was so lonely.
I don't doubt
it. So it was 3 beds all touching. We thought that was crazy, but we're all friends. Little did we know that somebody from the East Coast, who we'll call East Coast Dan, because that's what we called him,
who none of us had ever met.
We'd never really met him before.
Lauren knew him through the internet.
He knew him through the internet, through Halo specifically. They played Halo
videos,
online.
like specifically production of these videos that
He moved in for 3 months, and there were 4 people in a 1-bedroom apartment, and it was insane. And we came to kind of butt heads with him a little bit, and eventually he moved out, which it relieved a lot of pressure from the apartment. But
Tons.
My God, we had 4 guys in one apartment, and all of us turned out straight, which is actually kind of incredible.
Yeah, none of you went gay.
We didn't touch butts once.
No, we didn't touch butts once. We were that close. But so we in that time we had some crazy neighbors, and 2 of them come to mind. We're not very creative with names.
That's why we can remember them.
One is Ridiculous Neighbor. Why was he called Ridiculous Neighbor?
Because when we would be too noisy, according to him, at night, he would come over and say, "Quiet down! It's ridiculous! It's ridiculous! I'll call the cops! It's ridiculous!
It's 11 p.m. It's ridiculous. I have work tomorrow.
I have work in the morning. It's ridiculous.
Hey man, it's 11 on a Friday. Chill out. It's ridiculous.
His ridiculous per minute was incredible. So many ridiculousnesses is
like of all the words to pick up in the English dictionary, and we're just learning it. Ridiculous is pretty complicated.
I'm not even sure I could spell it accurately right now. You picked a weird one.
So that side was Ridiculous Neighbor. He complained, we ignored him. And then on the other side was Hello Neighbor.
Because exact same naming principles apply.
Hello Neighbor. All the time.
How are you?
How are you?
Hello.
All day, every day. Singing, whistling, all day, every day.
Yeah.
It drove me fucking batshit crazy.
Her and her mother, who we later found out I think was her sister, but we'll just call her mother.
Yeah.
Her and her mother.
Hello Madre, we call her.
Yeah, we're called her Hello Madre because she was the mother. They spent all day singing. And whistling. I think I deemed them DJ, because one of them had a walker. DJ Rocket Walker and DJ Tamale DJ Tamale and Rocket Walker.
Why Tamale?
Rocket Walker. Because so there's one day me and Patrick were like hanging out or whatever, and there's a rap on the door. It's 12:30 on a weeknight.
It's ridiculous.
Are we being loud? No, but maybe it's ridiculous neighbor.
We're always scared it's him. If we get a knock on the door past 9, was always scared it was ridiculous neighbor.
But we weren't being loud. I was sure of it this time. That's why I was confused when I opened the door to see hello neighbor with a big old bag of tamales. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, tamales, you want tamales? Hey, I will do anything you want.
And she would do this sing-songy talk that wasn't a conversation. Like, she would just kind of do it at you. Like, I got tamales, and want some tamales, and we cook them, we make them.
Corn, I get the strawberry, anything you want, okay? And I was like, oh, okay. And you can't really understand her, and she's like kind of just rambling, and her English isn't very good. And she was like, oh, anything, 15, 12, anything. Oh, it's for you. And
that was super muted, though. Like, when she said that thing, it's like,
well, it just didn't make sense. I don't know, like, what? 12, 15, okay,
tamales,
you got a dozen tamales. Great.
Corn tamales, we got tamales, me, my Madre, made tamales, 10, 15, whatever, tamale, you want some? And, like, all that you can get from this is that there are tamales and they're available.
And so I was like, oh, cool. And she just hands me this bag full of tamales. Like, shit, free food, great. Home cooked, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I took them, and she's like, anything, And I was like, oh, all right, bye. And
close the door.
I close the door, and then and I eat these tamales, and they're really good. They actually are really good, but they came in cold, and they were wet, and it was weird. But whatever, I didn't know what they're supposed to be like. And then a few days later, I get a knock on the door, and she's like, oh, anything, 12 or 15, a tamale. And I put it together. She had asked me that first night to pay her for tamales. She was selling me tamales at midnight. It's weird.
That's weird. And then you close the door on her.
And then I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And then just closed the door on her.
Tamales?
Oh, yeah.
I took them.
Took the bag
and closed the door on her. I didn't know she was asking for it. And then so I paid her out or whatever. And then that just opened the Pandora's box of her just selling me tamales.
Constantly.
It's so annoying. It's like, I don't want any more goddamn tamales. I can't eat enough of these things. And it's pure corn. Like, you can't just sit there and eat a bunch of tamales. It's just corn.
Yeah.
I get all full and anyway, yeah. I was okay when we moved because...
I've never been happier to move.
These people are so bizarre.
I have sentimental thoughts of every place I've lived except for there. I didn't even look back when we walked out. I didn't even want to spend a moment.
Really?
One of my favorite just tiny little stories with Hello Neighbor and Hello Madre was we were coming back, and I think she Hello Madre was on her walker and she dropped some fruit or whatever, and you picked it up and handed it to her, and she goes, oh yeah, thank you, I love you, and she told Austin that she loved him.
Yeah, she's like on her way to church
after years of living there.
I was like, hey, how are you doing? And they're like, oh, going to church and play guitar and sing. Oh, it's good, it's so good.
Yeah, they take good a lot.
And then
it's good.
Hello Madre's on her walker, and she went at like half speed, like half a mile an hour. So you can hear just her walker. Yeah. Just and then I was like, how are you? Good morning. She's like, oh, it's beautiful. It's so good. Bye-bye. I love you. She was so happy. And I was like, oh, thank you. But yeah, I saw Ridiculous Neighbor only once after that, after we moved out. And I think we almost literally moved out overnight, if you remember.
I was so happy with how little contact I had with people.
It was great.
To be honest, I wasn't that mad at those two. There was a third. But Ridiculous Neighbor, I would just prefer not to have to deal with anybody trying to get out of that place.
So I did see him once, and it's when I was a package was going to be delivered to the old apartment, and I was coordinating with the person who was now living in our old apartment, and there was Ridiculous Neighbor. And I was like, this guy hated us. Mm-hmm. He probably heard the door open at around 6 or 8 when we got home from work. And he would just be like, God damn it. Yeah. And he hated us. He'd always come over and tell us to shut the fuck up. And when I rolled up, I was like, oh God, I got to try to get into this place because I don't have keys to knock on this person's door. Because every apartment complex in LA has a gate you have to get into first. Right. And he was there, and he was so happy to see me. Yeah. He recognized me as he was working on a car with his son, and he was so happy to see me, and he let me in. He was shaking my hand and stuff. I was like, this is so weird. You hated us, and we didn't hate you, but we made fun of you all the time.
Yeah.
We made up a talk show called It's Ridiculous, in which you called on people to be on the show, And they would say stuff, and you would look at the camera and just say, "It's ridiculous," and start singing a song.
Yeah.
That was you in our minds.
Yeah. We always had crazy caricatures of all the people we meet.
Yeah, which weren't too far off.
He probably
base.
liked you because he knew he didn't have to deal with you anymore.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were
maybe that was it.
temporarily visiting.
Yeah, enthused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was our last apartment before we moved to this one, and the rest is history, as they say.
The
Not
rest
a lot
is
of
on this
stories here
podcast.
because it doesn't seem like there's much neighbor interaction here.
No, none. It's great. Yeah, and
I'm so happy that I only recognize maybe 1 or 2 people here
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. And all the other stories we've told you on the other podcast, but we just wanted to give you a history of how the places that we lived in LA and all the weird people you come across. There's plenty of like stories within LA itself, which we'll save for another day, but with Brian moving out, it was a good opportunity for us to kind of go over all the places that we lived. And we're gonna call him Brian, and we're just gonna put him in the hot seat, just ask him a few questions. So Brian, welcome. This is your final farewell. Let me start over.
Leave that in. We're leaving that in.
Damn it. Okay. Welcome, Brian. You might recognize. Do you want to take this?
Hey, Brian.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How did you think Lincoln did? You tell the truth. It was all right.
I mean,
Here's a
he
quick question.
Did his shtick.
Do you think?
Shtick.
Do you think he would ever become a host? Do you think he could ever become a guest host, or
No.
anything more than just a guest?
No.
Yeah, I don't think
Of course
so either.
That's what
yeah.
you guys do.
Yeah, that's our exactly. That's what we've always been saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but let's not talk about Lincoln. Let's forget about him. Let's never bring him up again. It's about you. You are on your way out. You were here for a year.
Year and a half.
A year and a half.
Like
Okay.
a full 18 months.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Which is the standard for LA.
Standard.
So
Yeah.
what is your overall opinion? You came from a very small town. I mean, we all technically moved from a pretty small town, Bozeman, but you're from
You're the
a
winner in that
really
department.
small town.
Right. I grew up in Gardner, which is about 600 people altogether.
Jesus.
I remember watching some random movie with you, and it was like, "Where'd you find her?" And it's like, "In Gardner, Indiana, the only one I know." And Brian was like, "What the hell?"
That's right.
So that's 600 people. That's a
600
very
people. Yeah, it's very small. And I mean, and I know smaller communities than it too, but
Oh, wow.
growing up with 600 people was.
Jeez.
I mean, it's all I knew, so I don't really know how to compare it really.
So when you moved to the land of like just daytime street trannies yelling at traffic,
That
and-
like the population of just the in your area of street time trannies was 600.
yeah,
There
yeah.
were 600 street
Like
time
just
trannies.
imagine your
Exactly.
town where you came from, full of daytime trannies
Yeah.
screaming at traffic, or I guess cows,
Yeah.
screaming at
And
deer
then-
and cows.
and then just a bunch of other crazies mixed
Just
in.
people shitting directly in the streets. A lot of street activity.
Yeah,
You'll see a
everything
lot.
happens on the street. I don't know why there are apartments because everything just happens.
Why, and they have the same sentiment. Like, why are there toilets? We don't need them. We're
Wow.
peeing straight into the. I actually saw a guy. One of my first Hollywood experiences is we're driving in after a road trip, and there was a guy peeing directly in the street, facing towards the street. Like
Yeah.
I was on Sunset. A guy was peeing
Unashamed.
into- yeah, it's just like and he's acting like it's like when a dog pees. He's kind of looking around while this goes on until
Kind of checking out the territory he is marking.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you coming from such a small town are probably way more shocked by this stuff. I mean, what was the
Yeah,
weirdest
I'm-
thing you saw?
The worst thing I saw.
Weirdest or
weirdest
worst?
thing I saw. Gosh, I don't know, because I mean everything would seem like a little unique to me, but
Right.
I mean to really name something as because.
Well, I mean-
I just accept that this is what happens.
Right.
So that I mean
Yeah,
when you were
when-
talking about like people shitting in the street or that. Like I just remember like following some guy.
Just for the record, I haven't seen a ton of people shitting in the street. I realize some of us have seen that. I haven't seen it yet. So it's not just like you drive down the street and there's just like a trough of people shitting in the street.
The benches they get ahead of it because they don't have to mess with the cleanup. There's already holes in the benches.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to clean out grates and wire meshings.
Yeah.
So they just...
The only time I've ever seen that happen, it was actually me.
Lincoln
Sharding in the streets.
Lincoln did shard.
Lincoln is surprisingly like if he needs to go to the bathroom, he just goes. Like, where I am like, I will kill myself to get to a toilet, and he's like, I gotta pee, and I'm in the middle of this parking garage. Let's do this.
Let's
go.
do this.
So you didn't see any.
I guess Lincoln is the most shocking.
And is there a story? Is there a story about that? I mean, there was. Is when everybody first moved into the new apartment, and you guys wanted to try the new Szechuan Chinese.
Yeah, Lauren and I had lived there already, and Lincoln Lincoln had decided to make his grand return to LA, and had driven down here with all of his possessions in his car, and had just freshly parked that car with all of his possessions still in it. Met with us, and we walked to get Chinese food.
That's a bad idea.
All right, there's a part of this whole story I've never told you guys.
Oh, I can't wait.
You're about to hear it for the first time tonight.
Brian, get out of the room again.
I'm pretty fresh off the boat in LA. I was dealing with some weird constipation issues.
Okay, yeah.
And
How long was the drive in average?
I don't know, like 22 hours.
Okay. It's probably relevant.
Anyways, this is getting kind of personal. I was dealing with some weird constipation issues, and EJ, I'm already regretting this. She had me try this like enema type thing. So I was like
things
doing
have been
that.
loosened
Yeah, it was like,
up.
it was like loosened up. So we go to get Asian food, and I'm on my way there, and
The best part of the story is that we've been building up Asian food. Lincoln didn't even order.
Yeah, I didn't
We
order
didn't even
because
get
by the
that
time I
close.
got there, I cut one, and for the first time in my life, like since I've been potty trained, it was more than just cutting one.
He didn't cut one.
That's
he cut
impressive.
some.
That's actually really
I
impressive.
cut some, and I'm walking with my friends, and I think, oh my god, I just sharted in my pants.
You had just arrived.
Oh my god.
Fresh off the boat. Like
Fresh
you
off
could
the
not be
boat.
more fresh.
It's like I arrive in LA and I'm like,
Guys, I'm here. Shart.
And so we go to this Asian place, and all I remember is I'm like, I'm so fucked. And I walk in there, and the whole place smells like shit. And I realize it's not the place. And so I just
my shirt.
I look for where they have the napkins, and I grab a handful of them, and I say, oh, I don't really have an appetite. I'm just going to wait outside. And I go outside with this handful of napkins, and I walk over to this bus stop that's on the corner. And that has a garbage can.
Yep.
And I take the napkins, and I stick them behind my pants. Or I stick them in the back of my pants, and I, like, wipe myself, and I just throw them in this garbage can.
Fistful of soft serve into the garbage can.
So that was your first LA experience, I guess.
Yeah, for his first return to LA experience. Yeah. So Brian, we have a series of questions that are very important to analyze your experience in LA. Would you rather have cats for eyes or eyes for cats?
Well, I'd rather have the eyes for cats because I made that great picture.
That's right, Brian. Oh, we got to post that somewhere.
post it somewhere.
Brian
Yeah.
photoshopped our
as
description. Yeah, we requested somebody Photoshop our description of
a
cats or eyes for cats.
Eyes for cats.
Yeah,
It's
Brian
very
did
incredible.
it exactly accurate. Exactly what I was imagining.
We'll put that up on the website.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's really accurate. It's disturbing.
I know.
One thing I would.
Which, by the way, I had to start with Googling just like eyeballs, and that's a bad idea. Don't.
First, I googled cats for eyes, and it just didn't work out.
That's
so
right. I was hoping
or
it would
eyes
do the work for me.
Yeah. One thing I would say about how long you've been here is that you have definitely been here long enough to accurately judge. Like, there's people who would move here and take off in an instant because it's like, what the? But that's not
right.
Maybe
that's
the end
not
of the
an-
season.
Yeah, that's not a good amount of time to judge whether you should stay or leave.
And there was sort of that gut reaction.
Of course.
I mean, it took a couple months to sort of feel it, but
I moved down here expecting to be gone in a year. Like, I just wanted to say that I worked here. That's all I wanted to get.
Yeah, it's good.
And then I just didn't leave.
Yeah. And you
I'm
never know if
a glutton
if
for
it's
punishment.
you never know if it's you in a new place and you're just being weird about it, or if it's the place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would never. Now, I think before I'd be like, you know what, guys, move here. It's fun. We'll have fun or whatever. Now that we're like working and you really don't have that much time, I really don't recommend very many people move here.
If somebody
Unless they wanted to or needed to or felt that it was part of their career path, there's really no need.
If anybody ever tells me they're thinking about moving here, I have a pretty lengthy sort of conversation that I start by saying, I'm not trying to say I don't want you here. I'm not trying to keep you out of here, but let me try to talk you out of it, just because this is like the litmus test to whether, if you still want to after, let me describe. It's not what you see on Facebook.
And tell you how.
Right.
Yeah, we were talking about taking selfies of ourselves at midnight at work with a big frown on our face.
Yeah.
Still at work, and a picture of us with like the computer screen behind us, because all you see on Facebook is the crew is hanging out, getting this, getting
pool
that.
parties and beach
Pool parties,
days
yeah.
and
Yeah,
that sort of
Which
When
is
in
like once a
actuality-
month.
Yeah.
Right.
In actuality, you're just sitting at your desk trying not to get caught looking at porn because you're so fucking bored at work, and you are going on your 13th hour
remember-
on your 13th consecutive day of work.
Yeah, and it's not like you're being lazy. You just happen to need to be around because eventually there'll be work, but you got to sit there.
Yeah.
I remember watching the final episode of the first season of Homeland, which was, no matter how you feel about the show, a very tense episode. And I was surrounded by clients, and I was looking at it on my computer screen facing away from them, and I think I was sweating. But it was like 11:30 at night, and I was just waiting for somebody to finish something so I could do my job. And like that, that's, I should have taken a picture of that and been like, this is what I'm doing right now, partying in LA.
But in the short time that you were here, you did manage to get onto some pretty famous shows. You worked on Arrested Development. That was the last one that you did.
Right. Well, Emmys was
And
technically
Emmys is the last thing
I
you did.
The Emmys that aired 2 days ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then before that, it was Arrested Development,
Development.
The new series on Netflix.
Netflix season 4.
Season 4.
Oh, you worked on Glass House?
Glass House,
Oh,
which
yeah.
no one remembers because
And
no one
what
watched
was-
it. I don't
what
think
was Glass
anyone
House?
watched it. It was a Big Brother-esque type reality show. I mean, it's really like
Was
Big
it-
Brother sued them for stealing their
Seriously?
idea, essentially.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Was the house actually glass?
You could see through it, right?
It had like this like plexiglass out thing, but I mean
Please-
it's inside a soundstage.
The
so, I
floor?
mean,
Could you like look up
no,
skirts?
no.
Please tell me that the advertisements went something like, in the glass house, you don't throw stones. Or
You don't throw stones. In fact,
was that seriously in an ad?
Oh yeah, like the whole
I
thing.
could do their
was
jobs.
their job was simply, or the whole premise of the show was that statement exactly. Where
Jesus.
and instead
go
of
to
like
pitch meetings.
where Survivor, you write the note and show the camera like I voted for so and so. You actually have a stone that you would toss with their name on it. It was
I'm going to make a show called China Shop, and it's going to be just a bunch of Chinaware, and people have to live together, just
then-
so that I can have the tagline, no bulls.
But
in
then
the China
actually,
shop.
but then when people are eliminated, they actually release a bowl
comes
into
in
the
and
house.
breaks their plate.
No, just they release
Yeah,
a bowl
they
into the
enter
house
plate.
and it kills someone. You're out. Get out of here. Did you? So you worked as a logger on it, right?
Live logging
Oh,
too. So you
okay.
actually are watching these people with like
Perform.
40 cameras in
You're not
this
watching
house.
the footage, you're there with them.
And you're writing down.
Well,
what they say.
I'm not in the house with them.
Right
If you
next-
watch
that
the
would
show
be
closely,
you're right next
when
to 'em.
Samantha and Frank are arguing, right in between them is Brian with headphones and a
Headphones
typewriter.
and a typewriter.
Shink, ching. Brian, you're fired.
Did you in your time that you did that? Did you see any like nip slips?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So all
Yeah.
the stuff they blur for TV, you got to see raw.
I don't think that stuff even made TV. This was ABC, and there was a a lot of family friendly things that needed to go on. So yeah, there was a lot of conversations and stuff that were kind of funny or juicy in whatever way, but because of the content of them, it just never made air. But yeah, like if ever they weren't producing enough good story, it was sort of common practice that, let's send a PA down to get some liquor, and then we'll put some liquor in the house, and then that always leads in some sort of drama.
People start throwing stones.
And yeah, there was definitely like
start releasing bowls.
Some girls that would start slipping out of their clothes after that.
Start shit.
Yeah.
It's like a little quiet, like middle America white girl, and then when she drinks, she's like,
Oh, man. Man, you big motherfucker. You mean you in a motherfucking glass house.
And whenever you hear that, that's her vomiting. You know what? I'm going to tell you something.
Man, what the fuck was in this shit? Oh, got me all fucked up in this glass house. We be throwing stones, bitch.
like that kind of stuff.
That stuff did not make it on Dave.
No, they didn't.
Never made it.
No, they
Never made
auto-tuned it to be a little bit more friendly. But yeah, you had a good roster.
On Arrested Development, if you watch it, you won't notice, but you will actually see Brian many times throughout the show.
Oh, that's right.
Twice in particular, yeah.
But then twice. Okay, yeah, twice. But then there's one point where like you see a finger, right? Or is that one of the twice?
Oh yeah, I guess that's a third time. Yeah, there's my finger made an appearance.
Ooh.
In.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any
Does
other
that finger get royalties?
any other body parts that
You are a pedophile, or a pedophile's reflection.
Yeah. In the
To Catch a Predator
in
spoof.
the introduction to Entrap a Local Predator, you can catch glimpses of me if you
Look at those.
you watch
Look for
it.
those thick frame glasses.
yeah,
Actually,
Brian.
I have a friend in Bozeman. You guys kind of know him through film school. His name's Ryan Flynn. He was the only person that ever recognized me and said like, "Hey, I saw you in Arrested Development. You were in that intro."
That's awesome. Yeah,
You were the pedophile.
Yeah.
You were the pedophile, and Brian wears these like thick rimmed glasses, these Ray-Bans.
Yeah.
I think 60s style, right? Is that right? Mm-hmm. And you can see him reflect. So if you watch season 4 To Entrap a Local Predator, you'll see Brian's pedophilic face reflecting back at you.
Yeah.
Well, that was good.
Some other random things to note. You moved into an apartment and your car was broken into immediately.
Yeah, like the second or third day
Like,
in that
once
apartment.
Brian-
I was living for 6 weeks. I was living between Lincoln and Patrick and Austin's apartments.
Bouncing back and forth.
And I was just parking on the street with literally everything I owned in my car.
Yeah.
And no one touched my car. And then I move into this apartment with a parking garage and everything. And I unload my car. And 2 days later, I go in and my car... They didn't break my car, luckily. It was just, somehow they had picked the lock or, jimmied it or
That's
however.
amazing timing. The moment you get
And
your car
in a
off
secure
the street,
area,
into a
off the street.
secure area and
And
get
it
all
got
your shit out of it.
Broken into, which... and they didn't even get much except a charger for my GPS system, which, of course, they made some special little thing in it. So that was like a $70 charger.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
But, so I got off relatively cheap. but
Yeah.
still.
When we went to see Brian for the first time in his new place to scope out the area, the place of note is Plan B.
Plan B.
Which has been a running joke for a while. This place called Plan B, which was classified as a strip joint. And we were walking by, but we weren't really sure about that at first. We walked by it, and I think Lincoln approached the guy, one of the bouncers, and was like, "So what is this place?" He's like, "Well, it's like a strip club, but they don't strip. Like, the women are fully clothed, but you can get lap dances and stuff. You can get food."
Yeah. In fact, I actually I looked up a Yelp review for Plan B at one time because I was new to the area and I was just looking up restaurants and that came up as a restaurant and it just became curious and read a Yelp review and there was something in my mind. I thought of her as like some 40-something-year-old like Midwestern housewife that was writing this thing, but she's like, "Oh my, this place is relatively good if you like good steak, but some
Food
of the
review.
women are dressed pretty clad.
Like she just wanders in without really knowing what she's doing. I want to put that lady in like an actual strip club situation.
Yeah.
She just
Oh
doesn't know.
my! She doesn't realize these are
Oh.
hired strippers. These women.
Oh, the waitresses. I guess they're not required to wear clothes, so they just don't. That's
Is there any
interesting.
alcohol? These alcoholic drinks do not seem to have alcohol in them. And why is this water $28?
The octopus is good.
Serving octopus.
Yeah.
I just love the name of that place. I love that it's called Plan B.
Plan
They
B.
do not even have the confidence to call it Plan A
Yeah,
or First Plan or Let's Go Here. Plan B just assumes that you got something better to
Settled
do
on
and it
this
fell
place.
through.
It's Plan A is actually going to a real strip club.
Yeah.
And that didn't work. You couldn't get in.
Like just they titled their
Exactly.
place with the
You have
understanding
some
that
sort of record that you're not allowed within.
Yeah.
like they seriously named their place attracting people whose plans have fallen through. You would never pick this place first ever.
Not to mention, it's also the name of a morning after pill.
Yeah, it's perfect. The place is amazing. We never went. We always talked about like we got to go to Plan B, and we just
yeah,
Brian's
well-
out of here. We're never going to go. Brian leaves.
Never gonna go.
But it's good. I mean, what's your takeaway from LA? Because you're leaving this Sunday. Like, you've been here a year and a half. What is your overall message to people?
I mean, if you're determined to like really work in this industry, like there's plenty of opportunity in the city. If you keep working at it, I think, like for me, I always think like, had I come at the same time Patrick did, straight out of college, you know, going and doing this, I probably would have lasted longer
Right.
because it's essentially the only career path I know.
Yeah.
If I would have done that. But I worked 4 years in news in Bozeman, Montana, and, you know, was working 40-hour weeks,
Right.
working a more or less regular job where
Right.
you do your job, you go home at a decent hour and, you know,
But also-
have your life outside of work.
It's also
Yeah.
a large investment. Just those hours in that room is like this is a tangible skill that you can say like there's something that I can apply towards something. You came
Right,
down here and
right.
that didn't apply to
Yeah, I
anything that
came
you
down.
could-
I was as a technical director, but I, you know, looking at technical directing jobs here, like I had no qualifications from
Right.
that small station in Montana to
Sure, sure.
LA. Like it was like I did nothing for the last 4 years.
Right. So, I mean, given all that, what's the big but? Like, what, you know, what,
What's
you know, what, like, what's the
What's the big but?
What's the big but?
Well, we never went to Plan B, but
So, like, you had, you know, it's like, if you can make it, it's great, but.
right? It's. I mean, you really need to sort of weigh whether it's what your life wants to be like, I guess. If you
Right.
it's definitely a
wanna put-
lifestyle to live here. You
it's
don't get to
definitely a
have any
Like,
lifestyle
there is
you want
no
here.
like going to work and then having your, you know, go home and you cook yourself dinner and you do this at night. Like
Right.
when you're working, that is your life,
Right.
essentially. And
Yeah.
and for me, my values started to be like I would rather work a normal job and have
Right.
a decent life
Life.
outside of work,
Yeah.
as opposed to letting work be my life.
Right. It's
And
a
it-
quality of life.
It
thing.
sounds
Right.
crazy, but a year and a half is probably how much time you need to accurately,
Yeah.
analyze that. That's probably how long, you can't just come up with that in a month because your position
Right.
will evolve.
And especially like when you start out as a logger, which is like the bottom of the barrel. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're getting worked to death. You're you're like, doing fairly meaningless work at that point.
Right.
But
Like robots could replace you.
exactly. and then I got on to Arrested Development and got a taste of what
Hollywood's dick. Yeah.
And it was delicious.
Because all of this is just a big sex metaphor. If you start
Mm-hmm.
early, you'll be able to last longer when you're older. So if you're having sex when you're 16, which is the consensual age, come on, in a lot of states, then later on you'll be more experienced. You'll last longer.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a bigger dick. But it's just if you start in late, you'll have premature ejaculation. you know, your dick's gonna hurt. This metaphor is falling apart.
And it's getting pretty insulting.
The lines are blurring, but you get what I'm saying. It's Hollywood is a big old
my dick is hurt.
and take it for a ride, and you might get used to it, or it's gonna tear you up.
That's great.
Whichever one. And you know, and we do. There are people who you know suck on that dick, and you know. And they like it. And some people just do it because they got to do it. And if you could manage to run the rest of your life knowing that you suck a little dick every day, I think you'll get along. But I think if you get that dick on your head, some people, they're thinking the
get
dick
that
all
dick
the time.
on your head.
Well, and for me, like I had my mouth around the dick.
So you
And
knew
it was
how
okay,
big you were.
But it was also like I've been working this dick, and I feel like
Cannot believe Brian has adopted this
dick
metaphor.
is not going to ever come. And I'm just, my mouth is getting raw.
Yeah, you know the size, you know what's gonna happen if this keeps going. You could read the writing on the wall or whatever's going on the wall.
Yeah.
And you know, you just you turn tail cautiously, of course, and run.
Sidestep away.
Yeah. Whereas we've become the dick. Like we spent so much time with the dick that we don't know where the dick starts and
your mouth begins.
But I like to think that you know, eventually, you know, we will just be the dick. You know, I actually have. I honestly do
your dick
believe
will be in someone else's mouth.
exactly.
You either work long enough to avoid the dick or to become the dick.
become the dick. So you know, we're sorry to see you go. We did have a lot of fun times, but
We also applaud you for escaping something that you understand you don't want. Which is a very difficult. We work underneath miserable people who hate this industry and don't want to be here, and we have to suffer that. And you know that they were where you were, and they didn't leave because that's the hard choice. I truly believe that's the difficult. I mean, when I first came here, I had plenty of times where I was like, "Should I leave?" And I was a little freaked out about uprooting. It's not an easy thing to decide to just leave.
Yeah, it's sunk cost.
So exactly. So you are making a decision that is probably very difficult, and you will be happier in the long run. And some poor asshole like us will not have to suffer underneath your negativity and miserable lifestyle in the future. So it's
congratulations, Brian. Again, we hate to
for not
see you
getting
leave.
bitter.
But we do hope you'll be on the podcast some more. And you know, you had contributed before.
Keep photoshopping those eye cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll keep
If we could leave with
Just eye cats.
anything.
I'm not going to
Just keep photoshopping eye cats.
Well, thanks for being on the podcast, Brian. We'll probably for sure hear you in another fashion, like on Skype. So, yeah. Thanks a lot, man.
No worries.
Bye, Brian.
Goodbye.
This is a high five you'll hear.
Well, you heard it here first. This podcast, you wouldn't hear it anywhere else. If you heard it somewhere else, that's copyrighted material. It's not copyrighted, but some form of plagiarism has happened.
And we're actually pretty happy about that because that means
that's exciting.
Somebody likes it enough to want to copy it.
So much. So if you're like watching a weird like YouTube rip with like Facebook pictures of us that are stills that's like cutting between our faces,
I think that's when we finally make it.
Yeah, totally.
It'll just be us on a black background, like a picture of us on a black background, and then to the right it'll have a quote from us.
Yeah.
Really poignant one.
And every once in a while, like, and the podcast will be playing behind it, and every once in a while it'll be like a really old picture of us that's been blown up and stretched oddly horizontally, so it's like really weird and shitty looking.
Yeah.
And then
it'll have the Ken Burn moves on it.
Yeah.
But thanks for listening. This has been the Urban Toledo Gang Podcast.